Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last episode. Yes, I haven't recorded for about a week, if you guys notice. So I'm doing this the same thing as the last episode, so yeah. So this episode, we're gonna be continuing on this case. And we're gonna ask about Gina Lestrade. She's been in before, of course. This little tender Damalian. I see. I brought some dubious article of Hutter with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me? So is there something dubious about the disc she bought in today? Well, if only if there were that simple. Sorry, what do you mean? She actually brought in what was a storage disc. Storage ticket, so Miss Lestrade actually has come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest. I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Winterbank. That little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. The overcoat that she redeemed? It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree to a price. New article to pawn? I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the children brought me the storage ticket and the money owed on it, you say. For this heavy black coat for which you returned to her care as I understood it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as that little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? I mean, yes, but... I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it for quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. I'm trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Mr. Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me, old man. It's me, old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of the way, please. Huh? Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem, as long as you remove yourself. I've matter to discuss with the proprietor. And you intend to make a problem of it? I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with him yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? How do you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy to remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What? You mean from you? You stole from him? Broker. Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. No, that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box disc too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was, now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Alright. Gentleman's accusation. Miss Lestrade, what is what the gentleman's saying? What, you think it's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on my life, I never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear it. I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again. Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Grr. Come along now, Mr. Lestrade, give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause show, I shall have no choice but to call the police. Hold on, why does everyone think it's me? Still look at this dandy cover. And you think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but there's no one's gonna believe you. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. And where's your evidence that I'm stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence? Evidence that the article Mr. Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman? Of course, we only need to consult Mr. Windibank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh? I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of— What? What do you mean you never asked? Is there a time and date? Why not? Well now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then, how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it's Professor. Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without a doubt. A watchword, interesting. Watchwords? What are these watchwords? So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windibank. As I explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Shoves. What is he doing? Great detectives have no dark secrets, not at all. Well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of the numbers used to unlock a vault. Okay. They deposit description and watchword and uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article? That's right, sir. Yes, just as soon as the request fee is paid. And I have supplied you with the information you require already. But for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on 15th of February. With a watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. But, ow! Really, this is beyond a joke now. There's no mere room for doubt. What happens now? Just talk to him? What's your postcard, gentlemen? Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh yes, Japan. I've heard talk of that place. Its inhabitants live on the fiery brown-colored shop. Soup dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. What was that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your name first before acquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer, well, a student of law, really. My name is Satomi Kotoba. I am Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict, yes, Egbert Benedict. Enchante. Or Chante. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Now to the matter at hand. My overcoat, return it at once. To somewhat the style to carry it off. The way he moves, though. Every mood he makes, every breath he takes. I can't stand him watching him. Looks like he got his coat back. So, let there be an end to the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Egbert Benedict, sir. Egbert Benedict? With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. This is why I ate grown-ups. Just because I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, broker. But of course, sir. Here's the disc for you. Just this one? Pardon, sir? I was expecting another, and that is, I deposited another. Another disc? Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir. That was what deposited with me was merely the overcoat. But this happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it now. So, Guttling, you're hiding more what's rightfully mine, are you? Says who, eh? I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine. What? Gah! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Whoa! We're already calling people names, huh? Are we? Okay. Oh my, yes. There's the blood on the disc. Because of that sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Or you take it. Me? Wait, I don't want to be involved in this. If I hang on to it, they'll have it off of me again, so you keep it all over it. So straight eye. Why is this so important to her? Music box disc has been entered into the court record. Play music in a mechanical box. Piece of music remains unidentified is stored on the disc by means of straw intrusions. You there in the black liver. Hand that disc to me at once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. What do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? Sholmes, help me. Wow, Mrs. Stray is really looking daggers at that mysterious gentleman. I need to do something to calm things down before she loses control and attacks him again. Look at those piercing eyes. He's clearly in no mood to talk. You have to do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police or something. When Mr. Winbeg is clearly at a loss here, we have to do something about this. Alright, Sholmes, up this or else he's gonna shoot himself. Alright, Sholmes, help me. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows, cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was simply too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So feigning mock interest, I pretend to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, this 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim you understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? How could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Why on earth did you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know? Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Rather, my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you. It would seem that my inferences are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us. Maybe you solved the entire case once again. My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be commoditized? How much would I pawn it for? If it seems that Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration, who knows if it will help resolve the situation between Mr. Straight and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Alright, let's do another Sholmes deduction. Oh, to leave it. I'm not gonna leave it. Well, Mrs. Straight, it would appear that you find yourself in something of a predicament. What a blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be there to help straight away, not an hour later. Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Egbert Benedict. You have in my eyes a veritably encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon? The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is contemplation, one you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. Is it time? So, shall we begin? The time has come yet for another Herlock Sholmes. Logic and reasoning spectacular. The great deduction. The game is afoot. Topic 1. Mystery man's aim. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having a redemption ticket stolen from you on the street? But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand, Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is a staff recruitment flyer. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most observant would soon to realize that man of your appearance has no needs for such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you unwillingly clutch to your person exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. Utter rot. I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule. The fuck? The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect this wooden tip. And yet, detailed analysis shows that the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you advertently facilitate the answer of your next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is that truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw that, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle, mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined his undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you conceived, sir. Wickedly calculated crime. Conclusion: to tunnel underneath the pawnbrokery. Topic 2. Great crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath the pawnbroker with a broken shovel. What on earth do you propose I could find in there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there's an ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. And your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the console notice on the counter which your eyes had inadvertently drawn. And this letter gives a notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewage works, beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. And that flows in this very proximity of the Great Vault in the Financial Institute opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan? You bring us to the last final chapter of this lurid scheme. What plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with the Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells all we need to know. A postcard of the Great Expedition? I'm afraid you quite lost me. Currently, the final stage of preparation of the Great Expedition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that will currently sit in the vault of the bank, on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime we have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of that bank. The special reserve funds for the great exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. In conclusion, to steal the great exhibition's reserve funds. Thus concludes Herlock great deduction of pawnbroking puzzle. We're gonna have to fix it again, are we? Well, that is a stretch, Mr. Sholmes. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Is it true what you said about the bank over the road? Or has it in its vault? Indeed, though a few know of its existence, it's one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. And if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be only one explanation for that, clearly it's because the man is a criminal. Well, what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will, if he already has plenty of shovels here, after all. Oh my life, I assure you, I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confining your next time, Mr. Sholmes. Next idea, Mr. Naruhodo, next an idea. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again, and see if that we can massage it into its shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes magnificent, logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright. Alright, we're getting to his beginning. Pickpocket here, blah blah blah. Redemption ticket. A lie. A real truth is something else. A click. Yep. Stat recruitment flyer. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. Question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Huh? It certainly is a flyer for Mr. Windibank's shop. Let's see. Windibank wants you. Pawnbroker's assistance required. It's an eye-catching advertisement, that's for sure. I've seen the same flyer up here inside the shop, I think. Perhaps Mr. Windibank is always in need for more staff? So Mr. Benedict came here to apply for a job. That's just too hard to believe. Cane. That's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at that beautifully polished brass on the handle. Yes, but Mr. Sholmes is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane. Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, it's just guesswork, of course. Perhaps you could adopt a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. It might rather suit you. I have a feeling rather it might argue with the sword around my waist. The note behind it. scribbled writing. Oh, look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubbly white shirt, blue satchel rag. His detailed description, Miss Lestrade. Goodness, there's even a sketch of her hat and all. Although if he showed it to her, she fired that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop has been written down here too. Windibank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, 15th of April. Which is today's date. Oh, Mr. Benedict had all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper. Alright, let's... Info about Miss Lestrade. Alright, let's present. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow, it appeared that the writing and sketch of the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windibank's Pawnbrokery here. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole a redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. Is the informant on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean... Here to Windibank's Pawnbrokery, and today's the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. And you have gone some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you unwittingly clutched to your person exhibits an uncontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule. No. What's a ferrule? Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's a metal cap that commonly were found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. That bit makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement? Yes, exactly, but Mr. Sholmes is right, it appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't look actually broken, does it? No, it doesn't, but... Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's something secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. The end of this cane is just bare wood. Yes, and accordingly to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, this is where the shovel blade would have been attached. Can it just be that the tip fell off? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I couldn't possibly speculate. Initially, A.G. Look here, Mr. Sato. There's some letters on the handle. Yes, there must be the initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their name. So her actions would be HS, you mean? That's right. Initials on this cane, obviously. Oh. You're not Egson Benedict? What? AG. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right? Stylish hat? As stylish as no doubt is, I don't think this white top hat suits the man, do you? No, not at all. The more I look at it, the more something strikes me as suspicious about it. I think perhaps, not so much that it strikes you as suspicious, but rather that the hat is just striking. I suppose you're probably right. Perhaps the hat isn't what we're looking for. Alright. The ferrule, or the initialing. And present. The contradiction, of course, which I speak, is the initialing. The most astute observation, would you say, Mr. Egbert Benedict? Or if that's your real name? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are E.B. Yet in the most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials A.G. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't. You said before that you had that cane for years. Urgh. So don't try to tell us that you borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Recoil, sir, is something wrong. And in your recoiling, you advertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what happened here. Mr. Straight redeemed that fine-looking overcoat, and a mysterious man has appeared introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. We know that he actually identified Mr. Straight from a written description, which suggests that everything else he told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. It's rather strange for handle for sure. It's certainly unusual for a gentleman's cane. Expect to see such a cane being twirled charmingly by its owner as he skips merrily down the street. You do? Something has just occurred to me. We have the shovel back in our office, don't we? Yes, you're right, and its handle is exactly the same shape as this cane. Here we go. Now I'm starting to wonder if it's actually a cane at all, but a spade. Sholmes' deductions are curiously compelling, aren't they? Is it a cane? That's the question. What? Split seam. Oh, the seam of the shoulder is coming apart, look! So it is. You know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, that I heard a rather strange noise, rather sounding like a tiny growl. I think it was probably the sound of his seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be very tight fit. Seams are stretched to the bursting and wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If you were to run around it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? He's really giving this some thought. Been looking closely at this hat for some time, and it suddenly occurred to me that a bright white top of that might be just the hat for me. You like it, don't you? I think I do, don't I? Well, in that case, you could see if there isn't something similar among Mr. Winbeck's forfeited items after we concluded our investigating focus on the task at hand. Is there something else? I think this is it. I think it has to do with the split seam. Alright, let's present. The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so boldly lie about your name so boldly in the waylaid this pickpocket. This catalog among troops has been in one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windebank. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. In conclusion, To abscond with a redeemed item. Alright, topic number 2. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have been planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed with a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit in the first place, how could I possibly know the relevant details? Nice pass. Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are too well aware, Mr. Benedict. On your furtive glance is more telling than I could hope. What? Let us consider if one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawn properly of another. The method revealed is by the council notice on which the counter which your eyes have been invertedly drawn. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of the tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious judgment did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or rather, looking at another way, if you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article whether it is yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchwords out somehow? Baker Street Works is the title. Yes, and it does mention sewage works, as Mr. Sholmes said. Oh, it specifically mentions that tonight's sale at the confectionery shop is on the corner and won't be affected. Case solving first, confectionery later, Mr. Naruhodo. Ugh, cursed my overly expressive face. The gun. This is Mr. Windibank's gun. Yes, loaded with only one bullet, he said. It would appear that being a pawnbroker is a very life-or-death profession. That might just be the particular establishment. Notelet. Look at this, Mr. Sato. It appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes. An alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see. I think it's the notelet, isn't it? Or is it the gun? I think it's the notelet. The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter which your eyes were avidly drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem it. So you looked at the thing to say your name is Professor to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down a response other than the notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches of that article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its advantages. What are you talking about? It's increasingly apparent that you are presenting this as in this shop before your accusation against Mr. Strayed. In all likelihood, you followed her inside, then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. And when the diligent broker made a note of the watchword as is common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawn article from Mr. Strayed. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter's lurid scheme. Why would you go such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat, it hardly seems to justify the effort, much less worth effortless music box disc. But naturally, you had your very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, the picture Poco tells all we need to know. The article we're talking about are in the overcoat, and the music box disc was in one of the pockets. According to Mr. Winbeck, isn't worth a penny, and yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we? Really? We better have a thorough look at the evidence we have collected so far. Is it the music box disc? But... let's examine it, actually. Can we examine? No? Yes, okay. What? What's this? Oh, there's a little sharp pigment on the reverse side of this. Look. Oh no, for McGilded. In scribbled word or two, it looks like somebody's name, McGilded. For McGilded. But McGilded couldn't possibly be... But it is Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this? Music box. This info has been updated in the court record. Alright, let's present. You see, this music box, this tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads for McGilded. Gah! Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his lone mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature, in fact. He was precisely the right size for the overcoat that you squeezed yourself into. Gah! Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Egbert Benedict. But the final conclusion is crystal clear. The reason it came to this problem brokery today. Was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Gah! Ah! And conclusion, to acquire an item deposited by Mr. McGilded. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. Whoa! There we go. Well, well. Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in those circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Mrs. Sato. According to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day in which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Oh, yes, ma'am, that's correct. Today would be the precisely 2 months since it was first adopted. Well, today is 15th of April, so 2 months ago today. Well, I've been the 15th of February, sir, that's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Positive at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that's... Wait. Didn't the trial was exactly 2 months ago? That's just... Yes, 15th of February is precisely the day in which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time in which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem that the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deduction you choose, however. What? He has a gun? I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. Fuck, he has a gun. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ugh, what do I do? I'm gonna save the game. I have to save the game. I don't like this one bit, but I'm gonna save just to be sure. Alright. I refuse. No deal. Absolutely not. There's some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Well, hold it. It's to win the bank. This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I shall have to take my own life. Mr. Winbank, no. Alright, that's enough. What, Gregson? Scotland Yard. Inspector Gregson. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on our own dedicated emergency lines. We got here as fast as I could. Now, what's this all about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my own establishment. It would seem that you have the upper hand. Right, you have some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Winterbank nearly at his end. Yeah, by his own gun as far as I can tell. Oh dear, dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with his end if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on. What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyways, you're going to have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Rah! He's getting away! Ah, he's running! After him, lads, wait, whistle the beat officer too, sir! So he's running away. There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently. We fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried. So you had a button under the counter, I see. Now then, Mr. Pertly in mourning. Yes? I'll be taking whatever it is at McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him. It's mine. That is mine. Sorry, miss, but anything belonging to Mr. McGilded must be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. Grr. Well, I guess this is all we can do. And so, we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and were summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. Alright. I think that'll be it for today. Yeah, 54 minutes. Yeah, so I guess next time on Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles, I guess part 1 is done. I guess we're gonna head on to part 2 of the investigation. I'll see you guys all next time.